Welcome, friends. In this series of simplifying financial jargons, today we'll see difference between hedge fund and mutual fund. There are some similarities, but most of the things are different. First of all, let us see what are the similarities. Similarities is both hedge fund and mutual fund pull money from investors and use those pooled money to invest to get higher returns. So this is the major similarity. Second major similarity is investor can withdraw money anytime, but in the case of hedge fund there is some restrictions. Mutual fund no restriction except exit load. So this is the similarities. So what is the differences? First of all, let us understand what is hedge fund. Hedge fund is pooled money from private players, private investors, especially HNIs. Mutual fund is also a pooled money, but from all all walks of life, anyone can invest money, and it is work under highly regulated environment, whereas hedge fund is virtually regulated. There is no much regulations. Hedge fund is using pooled money to get absolute return. The investors look for absolute return. Whereas in the case of mutual fund look for relative return. And normally this relative return is with respect to benchmark against which it is pegged. One other thing is that hedge fund can invest in any asset class. There is no limitation. Only thing they want absolute return. They run for return, higher returns. It may be stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate, anything can be. Even private partnerships, exotic products. So it can invest in anything, whatever they can see the chances of better return. But in the case of mutual fund, these are highly regulated and risk controlled and compliance framework and works under regulatory framework. In India, regulatory framework is guided by or provided by SEBI. So within that framework, they have to work. But hedge fund, there is no regulation, such regulation. So they are free to invest wherever they want. In the case of mutual fund, their portfolio are highly diversified to control risk. They cannot take much risk only to run for returns as more and more money is invested by retailers. So they have to protect a small retail investors' money. In the case of hedge fund, normally only HNIs or high net worth individuals invest here, and investment can be 1.5 million to 2 million dollars or more. In the case of mutual fund, even very small investor they can start investment as low as rupees 500 per month as in a SIP systematic investment plan. Maybe they can use 4,000, 5,000. 5,000 onwards amounts. So this is the liberty there in the case of mutual fund. In the case of hedge fund, they can borrow money to bet big and enhance return. In the case of mutual fund, they can borrow money, but within SEBI guidelines. They cannot go beyond SEBI guidelines. Mutual fund invest normally in stocks and bonds, debentures, commercial papers, treasury bills only. In the case of hedge fund, it can be highly concentrated, depends upon private players who constitute or who invest with hedge fund. But in the case of mutual fund, it is highly diversified to protect investors' investments. Here, one thing more to be noted. In the case of mutual fund, there is expense ratio charged by AMC from 1% to maybe 1.5%, 2%, depends upon how much asset under management. But in the case of hedge fund, there is 2% of fees charged in addition to 20% sharing in profits. In the case of mutual fund, there is no such sharing in profits. Yes, expense ratio charged on trailing amount only. That is the thing. And last, as told earlier, hedge funds are virtually regulated, or we can say there is no regulation at all, hardly any regulations. But mutual funds are highly regulated by regulator. In the case of this Indian mutual fund industry, it is regulated by SEBI, Stock Exchange Board of India. So these are the similarities and dissimilarities, differences between hedge fund and mutual fund. Now you would have clearly understood what is the mutual funds and hedge funds. In the case of hedge fund, there is no limitations, but in the case of mutual fund, there is limitations. In equity fund also, they can invest in only 10 to 11 schemes. They cannot, mutual fund, any AMC cannot launch more than clearly categorized, defined by SEBI, those 11 funds. In the case of debt fund, there are 16 categories. Under that category, only they can invest. Apart from this, of course, there are some index funds, some other funds, but all are clearly defined. And within that framework, parameters, only mutual fund company or AMC can invest, or investor can invest their money in any scheme. In the case of hedge fund, there is no such restriction, no such categorization, depends upon fund manager and their investors where they want to invest, how they want to construct their portfolio. So it is totally depend upon fund managers. But in the case of mutual fund, not there. So these are the differences between hedge fund and mutual fund. If you find some value, please do like and share with your colleagues and friends so that they can also get benefit out of this discussion. Please also Subscribe to this channel if not subscribed so far. Thank you.